So someone asked me to kind of tell my story. So I'm going to do a video on it. So, God woke me up. I think it's been about 5 or 6 months ago. I haven't really been keeping track, but he had been planting seeds with me for a while, for months actually, and with his name. And I kept on hearing these other names that I've never heard before, because I thought I'd never heard his name before. I always thought it was Jesus, because that's what I was taught. And I started reading my Bible more, and I don't know if I felt convicted to, but we had stopped going to church for a while, and I used to just watch a online stream on my TV on Sundays, and I kind of stopped doing that. And so I started reading my Bible more, and I started in the beginning of the Bible, and I just saw how severe punishments that Jehovah gave to those that were disobedient. And then so anyways, I kind of went down this conspiracy theory trail, and I got the book Enoch, and I read it, and all the fictional stories that I thought were fictional, it just of giants and sirens and Nephilim and all this other stuff. I would talk to my husband about it, and he'd be like, all of his videos games, have similar names of the angels and what they are in them, and it just completely opens my eyes to how Satan works in this world and where things came from that a lot of people are ignorant of. And then kept on hearing Jesus, and I was thinking of getting the Geneva Bible because it had some of the lost book, or some of the books that were removed from the Bible in it. And I was hearing this name Jesus, and then I started doing more research on it, and then I came across his name, and I wasn't really sure if that was his name, and then I did more research on it, and I found his name. And then I saw one of the brothers' videos that kind of brought everything full circle for me. His name, the idolatry of the cross and everything. And so I just started researching that and solidifying everything that he was saying. I did the research on it. And then I just I didn't know what I was praying for. I one night I was just so frustrated because I just wanted to know his truth, and I didn't want to be deceived. And so I just prayed to him, and I didn't know what I was praying for, but I just prayed to him to show me his truth, that I wanted to know his truth. I didn't want to be deceived anymore. And I hadn't read John 14 yet. And then I don't know if it was that night, or I can't remember if that was that same night or not, but we have a train that goes close by to our house, but it's not close. It's not far away, but it's not really close. You can kind of hear it at night, but it's not loud. You can sleep through it. It's not that loud when they blow the horn, but sometimes you can hear it if you're not totally asleep. And one of the nights it came by, and I was laying down in bed. I don't know if I was asleep yet or not, or going to sleep. I can't remember if it startled me awake, but it startled me because it was so loud, like it sounded like a trumpet, and it was so loud, and it went off like 5 or 7 times. And when it was going off, I got this overwhelming sensation of urgency sweep over my body. And I have never felt anything like that before in my life. And I felt this urgency, like I had to get up and do something, like I needed to do something now, kind of urgency. And I couldn't calm myself down at all. I couldn't sleep. And I just started diving in more. And then he started showing me his truth. Like, the church taught that Yeshua rose on Sunday. No, he rose on the Sabbath. And he showed me that. And he showed me, John 14 and Acts 5:32. You only get the Holy Spirit if you keep his commandments. And, I always thought I was saved before. But then again, I always questioned that too, because I never really felt like I was saved. But then, your church tells you, oh, if you've been baptized, you have the Holy Spirit, blah, blah, blah. So I just felt this overwhelming of urgency, and then mourning. I was like mourning for a month. And I called my dad, I called my mom, I called my husband. I kind of went crazy. I felt like I was going crazy. And I baptized my children. I didn't want to do it in the church because I knew they didn't have the love of God in them. So I baptized my children. And then I asked my husband to baptize me. So my husband baptized me. He didn't really feel comfortable with it. And then he just started showing me everything, like all the lies that I grew up believing from the church. And when I realized now what I was praying for, and a brother had to point it out to me what I was praying for, because John 14 tells you that he gives you a spirit of truth when you obey his commandments. And I was asking for his truth, but I didn't know if I had the spirit yet at the time. But after that, I was completely obedient. I threw out my Christmas tree, got all the idols out of my house that I knew were idols, and I started keeping the Sabbath and just diving into his word. And I read this verse. It says, and it was either Ezekiel 2 or 3, I think it's one of those, where he eats the scroll, and it's sweet in the mouth, bitter in the belly. And it was the time of lamentations, mourning, and woe. And that's like a perfect description of how I was feeling, because I was like mourning over all my loved ones that had been deceived, that still believe in the lie, thinking that they're saved when they're not, because they don't keep his commandments, and they're aliens to his covenants of promise. And like just mourning of all the years that I thought I was saved, that I wasn't, like the lies and the deceit, and all my loved ones that have already passed away, and all your family and friends that believe, but they don't know that they believe in a lie. Like it was overwhelming. It still is. But I don't have that high urgency. I mean, I still feel his grace, but what I didn't know at the time that urgency and that feeling that he poured over me was abundance of his grace that he was pouring out on me. And which is a beautiful thing. But that's my story. And it's just been kind of a crazy journey since then.